Stefanie, hi.
Hi.
Oh, this is episode 190, so we're closing in on episode 200. Once I get to 200, I'm going to take a break from recording these for a while because it's been 200 episodes in like 17 months. That's a lot of fractional CMOs. Ooh, so many fractional CMOs. So many weird characters. You're all so weird, but and opinionated. You have stuff to say and stuff to teach people. So that's great. So tell people a little bit about you, and then I want to drop you into the first hypothetical situation that all the guests go through.
Oh, okay, cool. A bit about me. I've been an owner of an agency for 19 years. Pace
Hmm.
Creative is a third agency. So I started, my first agency was a production agency, typical. 90% of agencies out there are
Right.
production. Then we moved on, then I sold it actually, and then created Pace Creative. And the reason I created Pace Creative is because a lot of the non strategic work oftentimes doesn't make it live. And so with Pace Creative, we want to be very purposeful in the types of work that we're actually going to be working on, like product launches, for instance, to make sure that they actually go live and people get to see it, and it actually results in making an impact and results in revenue growth.
Hmm. Good. Okay, then let's drop into our first scenario. So you've got a new client. Let's say you've got a new fractional CMO, marketing consultant kind of client. Okay,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are virtual or like different parts of the world. But this one's only 5 minutes from your home, so you're actually going to show up there at Monday at 9 o'clock. When
Yeah.
you walk into a brand new engagement, first day, new client, everything, right? What's your dream scenario that you're walking into as you like work out how to help these folks, and what's the nightmare scenario that you would walk into?
I think that, well, okay, so the best scenario is going in at 8 a.m. and having a series of meetings scheduled,
Right.
first with
Yeah.
the executive team, then with, I would say not main, but some of the key stakeholders within the
Hmm.
organization, and having a series of meetings throughout the day and really understanding the landscape. Basically, that would be the best scenario, and that could go on for the week.
Right.
It's not just depending on the size. I typically work with scale ups, so there's usually 10 executives to talk to, making sure they're aligned. Typically, at the end of the week, we all meet together again to ensure the alignment there. So, and then I'll just talk about the findings. So that would be the best case scenario. Having a lot of the team members within the head office, available, be able to
Hmm.
speak to them, schedule one-on-ones with each one of them, and then as a small group. So that would be
So
the best. The worst case scenario, I mean, I've over the years I've seen it all.
I bet.
I have. There's nothing that
Right.
but like the worst case scenario is not having the executive on the first week on board, which means maybe I'm talking to which is good. I can still get a lot done, but it's not.
Right.
I like to align truly with the executive team at the beginning of the journey. This is one of my favorite things to do, and then try to align with or understand the alignment with the rest of the team.
Okay.
So yeah, worst case scenario. I mean, recently I've got one. Listen to this one. This is a good one. The worst case scenario I've got myself into. So just started the job, like started the fractional CMO for a scale up company is actually global. So in the
Right.
US and South America. And the old CMO, the CMO that was the previous CMO that just had let go, basically was planning a ransomware.
Hmm.
That's cool,
Ooh,
right?
that's actually kind of high tech for a CMO. Yeah, sure. Right on. Against his own or her own company?
His own ex company. Yeah.
Wow. Boy, you never know. Do you?
You see?
Yeah. Okay, so let's imagine that you've been there about 90 days now. You've been working with these guys. So you're back on site. Someone passes you in the hall, someone in like the board level or C-suite level, and say, "Hey, Stephanie, I was thinking about you last night. We were talking about you. Um, so I understood from the beginning the value prop for bringing you in, but I see that there's more to that now. There's like we had sort of an aha moment for like, wow, Stephanie, What was that aha moment for bringing in a fractional CMO, or you specifically? What do they not realize or appreciate till they've seen you in action for a few months?
Well, there's a few things here. It really comes down to the value and the culture of the company. First of all, I would say that every single company has a different culture, different sets of values.
Mm-hmm.
So it really comes down to that. I've had a few. The one that's recurring is, everything was in our heads. The executives were all aligned and we knew the direction. It's very clear to us. And, if the team doesn't understand, they're just too junior. And I keep on telling them, no, that's not true. That is not true. You're not giving them the tools to succeed. And the tools to succeed is the roadmap to success. And it needs to be documented. And so that's one of the haha moments, but it takes 3 months. It's not a month. It takes a while because they have to see it, right? They don't understand what a roadmap looks like until I visualize it. And then I really break it down into documents. So of course the executive team has to approve each document, but they really do not understand the importance of it. And then the other until it's done, and then the marketing team, as well as usually the sales team, come back and say, "Wow, this is the first time we so aligned. I'm so engaged. I'm motivated. I love Stefanie," which is actually going bad on my side. They love me too. Like they like me too much because they've never seen it done before like this. And then, so that has been the haha moment, like, the engagement of the marketing team, getting them motivated. They're not stressed. They're not overwhelmed. They're not, having mental health issues, which I've seen. So that's really, I think, as I said, as a trend, that's the main one that comes out.
Okay, so we're going to leave this place because you've got a speech today. So you're going to drive over to a conference, right? Because you need to get on stage. And when you're on stage, you're talking to 250 people. They all just came out of corporate, Stefanie. They all became a fractional CMO yesterday. They're brand new, right out of the oven, right? Straight into the fire. And so you're talking to these folks. You're the expert, right? You're talking to these folks. And we're going to walk through like 3 things. And I just need you to like finish the sentence with as long an answer as it takes to finish the sentence. Okay. So you're saying like first thing, since you guys are brand new, starting out, new fractional CMOs, I'll tell you something you're going to be shocked by about being a fractional CMO is
how CEOs, entrepreneurial CEO, well, depending, the CEO personality is, and how they make decisions. And I'll tell you, I'm a CEO, I'm an owner, so I understand it very well. And it's all about taking the least amount of risk, right? While making sure that you guarantee success, that the decision you're making is going to result in what you're hoping, or meeting the specific business goal. So I would say you'll be surprised by how CEOs are making decisions.
All right, good. All right, so then the next sentence to finish, right? And so also as you guys are out and you're working, you're going to find that many of your clients just don't understand
how a fractional CMO can impact sales and revenue growth. How the fractional CMO can align marketing and sales efforts to drive revenue growth.
Okay. And then finally, they're trying to like rush you off the stage because you're a bit of a talker and you've been there too long. And some intern is like waving, but you said, by God, I'm going to tell them one more thing. And so even as you're leaving, you say, look, they're making me leave, but I got to tell you this one last thing. As a fractional CMO, when it comes to getting clients, the number one lesson I want you to learn is
it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't know. They're pretty new. You may need to expand on that.
It's all about building relationships in terms, like a fractional CMO is an executive level. It is not transactional. So you're not going to be, it's going to be difficult to sign your first client, within 30
Right.
days. It's going to take some time, and it's a complex sale. So it's really about building that relationship, taking the time, truly understand what the problem is, and seeing if a fractional CMO is actually the right answer for them.
All right. No, that's good. Okay. So they finally get you off stage, right? And you walk out onto the conference floor, and there's lots of booze, and there's lots of prospective clients for you sort of walking around, right? And so as you're talking to these prospects, like companies that, might be a good fit for you, and they're talking to you about themselves, and they're talking about marketing and what they think they need, what do prospects tend to overrate in importance for marketing, and what
Okay,
do they
great.
tend to
Love that
underrate?
question. It's a great question, Dean. So overrate tactics. They keep on focusing on pray and spray tactics. So it's all about, and I teach as well. I do workshop, I teach an MBA class, and it's all about, and what's underrated is strategy and planning. Planning is the most underrated, actually, beyond strategy. So back in the day when I first did my career, like 20 years ago, you would do a product launch over 18 months. You had strategy work for 3 months. There was 1 month of planning, and then we would plan the execution based on the roadmap. Today,
Right.
there's barely any strategy. You're expecting to do the strategy in 30 days. There's no planning. And then you dive into all the tactics, right? Executing all the tactics at once, which create chaos. And so, so that's what I would say to you. This is a great question. I love it. It's a good one.
Okay, then the next question. As you're talking to these companies and you're trying to decide if they're a fit for you or you're a fit for them, what's a red flag and what's a green flag that a prospect might throw off? Where you're like, I don't know. I don't even know if you should be talking to any fractional CMO right now. You should shut down your business. Right? What's a red and what's a green flag?
I've never been into that situation. I always think there is a way, I always think there is a way. It's just that to your point, I think maybe it is not.
So what's something you like to see and what's something that's concerning when they talk to you?
I'll give you an example. I have one right now. It's a VP of growth. Wanted to, actually I'm starting to work with them. The biggest concern is how she engages and how she communicates with her executive team. Very concerning. It's all about tactics. It's like tactics, pennies and cents. And I'm like, I don't understand. Is that how you, I said, I was very frank. I said, if anyone on my executive team was emailing me or communicating with me that way, I wouldn't appreciate it. So that was a red flag for me. So in a way, like, well, no wonder, you're struggling in getting, your roadmap approved. You're, getting any credibility from the executive team. So that's a red flag. And I actually was nice in providing constructive feedback. But, it's the red flag. It's difficult for her to be credible, but it's also because I'm under her and she's hired me. It's going to be very difficult for me as well to stand out unless I'm able to speak to the executive team directly. So that's the red flag, I would say. That's the worst case scenario. But again, I always find ways or solutions around them. And, in this case, I've provided constructive feedback. The other feedback I've given is that maybe you also need a fractional sales officer to support you because that's what you need. And she's quite open to it. So again, the other red flag for me, another one would be someone who's not open to recommendations, which has not really happened, but it could, right? I give you an example. So I was speaking to a prospect, a very good company, a SaaS company in healthcare, amazing, great product. And I was explaining what a fractional CMO does. They were considering hiring one. And then the CEO looks at me at the end of three meetings. And it's like, Stefanie, I don't see the difference between a fractional CMO and a project manager. And that was a red flag to me. Okay, well, you obviously don't appreciate the value. You've never had a CMO in place, so you don't know what the role of a CMO is. Maybe I was not able to, to convey properly the value of a fractional CMO after 3 meetings. Fine. And it's obviously we're not a right fit. So that would be a red flag for me. And those are just 2 examples that come to mind, but those are really drastic.
What's a green flag?
The green flag is someone who it just, we connect from a value perspective. So again, and I say this to all of my clients, I'm not here to do Dutch style. This is not my style at all. When I come in to work for a company, I truly want to understand the executive team, their values, what's driving them, why we've been here, why I've been hired, like truly understand the landscape. After that, they tend to give me a few tasks, or not tasks, but goals or objectives, or they're trying to share with me what's going on truly. And if they allow me to ask questions and answer transparently, I believe that's a green flag. Like, it's amazing, and that will create an amazing relationship in the future. Um, Someone also that provides constructive feedback. So it's truly a two-way conversation. I speak to them at the same level. So I do expect, to provide my thoughts, but I would like to receive their
Yeah.
thoughts on a regular basis. This is not a scheduled. So that's a
Well,
green flag, and I have a lot of those.
yes. Okay. So typically, what we do for the last question in this hypothetical is we would you and the other guest would ask each other a question
Yeah.
about being a fractional CMO. That can't happen because we had that last minute rescheduling with Jill, so she'll be on a different episode. So at this point, if you want, you can ask me a question as if I am a fractional CMO, even though I'm not, because boy, do I know a lot of them and help them with their business. Or you can ask any
Okay, one
question you
question that I
want.
have for you is, out of all of the interviews, which one was one of the best interviews ever with a fractional CMO, and why?
Oh, I can tell you
Okay.
the kinds. What happens if there tend to be two kinds that do really well and are very enjoyable. One is someone is just working in something that's so different than everyone else, right? We had one who specializes just in
Yes.
space
No.
companies, right? And we had one who just does like a very specific kind of TV
Oh, that's
production.
cool. Actually,
Yeah. And so it's not so much that they're in an industry that's, oh, wow. It's more like they're doing something that no other of the 350
yeah.
guests did, right? So that's pretty slick because you get to learn about something else. And then the other guests they're just coming at this. Like, you're not even sure if they have 100 potential customers on Earth, because the way that they want to approach something or the way they're approaching it is just at a very different angle or
Hmm.
vector than everyone else. But they've like thought it out, and they're like trying something different, and they attract a specific kind of client who want, typically it's the clients tend to be B2C,
Oh,
even
okay.
CPG, like consumer packaged goods company, right? Where they just want to they specialize in really companies that are either just starting out or companies that really want to break through with their messaging, right? And they have a very different approach for how they think. Like, they look at everything in that company, and it's either contributing to breaking through with the messaging or it's not. But their whole like the whole reason you bring them in is you want to punch way above your weight
Yeah.
in boxing terms, right? So those are kind of interesting too. And then once in a while you get weird coincidences. The guests all choose their own date and time. We always record on Thursdays, but which Thursday and when, right? And because everyone chooses their own date and time, the pairing of guests is not curated at
Hmm.
all. It's random. The only thing I know for sure is everybody's fractional CMO. That's it. But once in a while, you end up with people who are almost like, if there were a Venn diagram, they would just be one circle, right? And we had one episode where the guests were both in Texas, Houston, actually. They're both in Houston. They both specialize in
Oh,
oil and gas companies. They both did the same kind of work for the same kind of oil and gas companies, and they lived a mile from each other. And it was completely random because they each chose their own time slot. And they ended up like meeting in real life, getting coffee. I mean, they're so close, right? It's only half a mile drive if you pick a place between the two of you. And now they collaborate on stuff.
amazing.
Completely random that they ended up with someone, basically a neighbor.
That's amazing. I can
But
relate to
there you go.
this, like I can relate to your two examples of fractional CMOs, and I understand when you need each type actually. Again, because
Yeah.
I've worked a lot in scaling, but B2B and mainly manufacturing actually. So medical device, but diagnostics, medical diagnostics And I do understand. And we actually did a spring. We launched like a company that was doing springs for planes actually. So we had to research
Mhm.
where on the planes would you customize or create custom design springs. That was cool, but I understand it completely. These
Yep.
are fun. I love niche companies in general. Like I think this to me is the most fun. Like something that has been around for a while, so
Yeah.
niche, but nobody knows about it. Nobody. It's like the
Yeah. What I tell my kids is anything you can think of, any problem that anyone has, some company somewhere has been set up to fix it.
Adenon.
From uh,
That's the,
from picking up your garbage to like cleaning up crime scenes to figuring out, how to replace headlights in places that come for people who can't go to a garage. I mean, like anything you can think of, somebody's got some little business
yeah.
somewhere that does it. They might not be in your area and you might not ever encounter them, but there is one. Someone's thought about it and like set up to do it. He said it's crazy how you know creative people are.
Great.
Yep. All right.
No, this
Any
is
other
good. Oh, you
questions?
said one question, so I think I give you a double. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a
If you
great
want to.
question. It's a great answer, and I agree with you. I can see that. I meet a lot with fractional CMOs myself as well, for different reasons. Sometimes we can, like to your
Right.
point, collaborate because we have a different.
Yep.
Not in my. So first of all, I'm almost at capacity too. So looking for other people I can collaborate with to support some of my clients. But other times, I don't feel I'm the fit from a value perspective, and so this is why also collaborating
Right.
with other professionals is great.
Yeah. I have that conversation once a
Yeah,
week.
I think
I explained to somebody that I am not a good value for you. You just, you don't hire someone like me to like write your blog posts. I mean, I said I could write your blog post for what you're going to pay
no,
for that. It's not worth it. It's all right. There are other people, God bless them, right, who do that kind of work, and so like you should have them do that kind of work. I'm too hyper specialized in one part of the buyer journey or sales cycle to do that. And so like you don't need someone like me to do that. There are lots of people. I'll put you in touch with them. There are lots of people who write your content, your LinkedIn posts, that kind of stuff. I'll focus on the advertising and the email campaigns and specialized homepages and landing pages and stuff like where we can move a needle. It's like, believe me, it's like you'll get way better value by having someone who writes your content and me than just trying to have me
yeah,
write your
no, I
content.
agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to be a good value for every client. So you might as well tell
What
them when you're
exactly? And
not
you
a
want
good
to
value.
maximize. I think it's maximizing the value, right? But I think also
Yeah.
that frank conversation helps, and then you can, like it helps a lot to educate. That's what I like, in the engagement. The first, 30 days for me, it's all educational, and that's why it's really
Yep.
about learning, learning about the executive team, each one. Try to understand the personality. Try to understand what's their personal goals, and how it aligns with
Yeah.
the company's goal, and act accordingly, right? So act accordingly in a good way, to just make sure that everybody is being satisfied, get their
Right.
answers when I'm presenting or when I'm addressing a concern, or just, presenting a recommendation.
Yeah. Okay. So we got time to wind down. Who should be contacting you these days, and what's your preferred way for
Who
them to
should
do
be
it?
contacting me? So any executive team working for a scale-up company wanting to meet specific growth goals, and I'm very specific here in terms of, so we have clients that are 3 million in revenue right now and want to get to 10 million in 5 years. Those are great fits. Or I have a client who's $1 billion in revenue, 75 years in business, and want to get to 2 billion. And so that's a great one too.
Right.
And we've done amazing working with them on a new product launch, for instance. So it's really about a mindset more than anything else. And it's really about that growth mindset. As long as there's growth, it doesn't have to be aggressive growth, but it has to be growth. So that's a great, an executive should be getting in touch. Um, and the other one is how to get in touch with me, of course, by email at Stephanie with an F, Stephanie at creativepace.com, but also through LinkedIn. LinkedIn, again, Stefanie Curtis. And then, yeah, those are the two main ones.
All right. All right, Stephanie, thank you so much. This has been great. It was nice to see you again. It's always nice to see people again. And everyone who's watching, thank you. And